ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताका स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमो आचार्यपादाय निताय कृपाप्रदायिने गौरकथा धामदाय नगर ग्राम तारिणे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वर। हरि ओम तत्सत्। हरे कृष्णा। Okay, so we did 22nd हमने कर लिया था।
Yes, Mataji, we have done.
हाँ, let's read from verse number 17th. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. So first initially Lord Krishna tells Arjun, आप लोगों ने पढ़ा ये next 5 verses पढ़े हैं क्या?
Yes, Mataji.
पढ़ा है ना? So please read, always remember to read at least one verse every day so that at least 5 to 7 verses आप read कर लो with purpose, because we'll run quickly without reading the purpose. Okay, so so initially Krishna told Arjuna that you should perform work. कर्म तो हमें करना ही है सभी को. And Arjun was actually little bewildered in the beginning of 3rd chapter कि अगर आप बोल रहे हो बुद्धि जो है कर्म से ज्यादा बेहतर है, meaning Gyan is more important than karma, then why are you making me fight this war? So Krishna says, yes, Gyan, I told Gyan is more necessary because the goal of life is becoming self-realized. Okay, now this path of self-realization can be attained in 2 ways, by renunciation and by doing our karma. But renunciation किसे करना चाहिए? Who is meant for renunciation? Who is not meant for renunciation?
Grastas are not meant for the
How do I know
renunciation.
even suppose I'm not yet married?
Yeah.
So how do I plan whether I should renounce or I should get into grihastha life?
If we are not married.
Yeah. Sometimes हो सकता है ना कोई एक youngster है and he's still deciding. So how does he decide whether I should take the renunciation path or I should enter into grihastha?
But if somebody is not married, Mataji, then they can. But if she's a woman, she should not.
Yeah, for a woman, there is no choice. A woman should get married. But for a male?
For male, I think they can, but it is
on
always
what
better.
Factor does it depend? On what factor does it depend?
Like if they are totally involved in spiritual bhakti, they can take renunciation and, continue their journey on that path.
Okay.
माता जी उनके पेरेंट्स भी होंगे तो पेरेंट्स के प्रति भी उनकी कुछ ड्यूटी बनती है, तो उससे भागना, रिनंसिएशन लेना, पेरेंट्स की ड्यूटी से भागना भी हो सकता है ना माता जी?
वो इसके लिए मैं कह रही हूँ कि इट हैज टू डिपेंड ऑन अ सॉलिड फैक्टर, नॉट कि मुझे जस्ट बिकॉज आई डोंट वांट टू डू माय ड्यूटीज, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं निभाना इसलिए मुझे
रिनंसिएशन लेना है।
दैट इज नॉट द, वही बोल रही, दिस इज लाइक इमेच्योर और प्रीमेच्योर रिनंसिएशन. दिस इज व्हाट कृष्णा इज सेइंग वी शुड नॉट डू.
Okay,
तो नारद जी थे, तो नारद जी की जब मदर भी नहीं थी, वो भी ऑफ हो गई थी, उसके बाद में उन्होंने कंप्लीटली रिनंसिएशन
But
लेकर.
that is not the only factor कि अगर parents हैं, for example, see I'll tell you, the factor is desire. If a person has a desire to enjoy
Okay.
and mingle with the opposite sex, he has some desires like that, then he should get married. He should not just
Okay.
abruptly take to renunciation. Now, taking care of parents and other responsibility, अगर suppose एक person का real calling है from inside his heart, that I don't want to get into grihastha life. तो parents का responsibility ऐसा नहीं कि brahmacharis नहीं निभा सकते. Even by getting into brahmacharya ashram, they can still take care of their parents. How they may not stay at home, they may not work, but they have to take care that the parents are being taken care by someone. मतलब उनका they are being taken care otherwise financially and otherwise जो help है. तो even today we see there, so all the brahmacharis, they are taking care of the parents very well. They go to their houses once a week or once in 15 days. They give them all support. And when they are old, I mean, they are taking care. तो ऐसा नहीं कि ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम में आने के बाद parents का take care नहीं कर सकते. And of course, but if somebody just wants to, avoid that responsibility, then that is not how one should get into brahmacharya ashram. So the main factor is desire to enjoy. वो है कि नहीं है. अगर किसी के अंदर है ही नहीं कि I don't want to enjoy this bodily platform, या मेरा वो desire नहीं है कि मैं शादी करूं और एक family raise करूं, and उसका he wants to get into spiritual path very deeply, he wants to surrender completely, then that is the deciding point that okay, he can get into renunciation path instead of getting into grihastha ashram. But for people in general, 99% people के लिए getting into grihastha ashram and taking responsibility is the path. So bhakti yoga basically can be performed by anyone, brahmachari हो, गृहस्थ हो, वानप्रस्थ हो या सन्यासी हो, हर कोई जो है भक्ति योगा कर सकता है. लेकिन कौन से आश्रम में रहना चाहिए वो उसके inclination या tendency या उसके desire पे depend करता है. Especially this is for the males. For females, everyone should get married. Females के लिए तो choice नहीं है कि ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम में रह सकते हैं. This is for the males that they have a choice. But that choice depends on genuine calling for the spiritual path, whether it is there or not. If that is not there, then one should get married and take responsibility and do his duties according to what? Karma kanda, or how one should do the duties. After suppose a person gets married, then how should he perform his duties?
Anyone?
भूल गए सब.
As per the duties.
आप लोग तो कर रहे हो ना? You are following that. You just have to.
As per the prescribed duties given in the scripture, you need to follow all those duties while you are spiritually also into chanting and
devotional practice के साथ में he also performs his duties according to Shastra, not breaking any of the four regulative principles, because as a grihastha he will have to earn in order to take the care of the family, but he should see to it that he is not breaking any of the principles just to take care of the family. He has multiple choices. He can choose any of the profession, but any of the means to earn money, but not against the principles of Vedas. That, and then whatever we must do, we must do our duty with a sense of detachment. नॉर्मली जब हम मटीरियल गृहस्थ लाइफ में आ जाते हैं, मटीरियल लाइफ बेसिकली itself means becoming attached to whatever we have. Even a brahmachari can be attached to whatever little possession they have. They can be attached to, if they have a mobile phone, although उनका कोई और responsibility नहीं है दुनिया में, ज्यादा कुछ मेजर possession नहीं है जिसके लिए attachment होगा, but if they have one mobile phone, they can be attached to that mobile phone also. So attachment can be to any little thing in this material world. Whatever we have, we may get attached to it. So how we have to do our duty and how we have to live in this world? By doing our duty according to Shastra, and attachment हमारा भगवान के प्रति होनी चाहिए, कृष्ण के प्रति, not to any material things. And without basically attachment, with detachment, we have to do our work. So that will lead to what? If we do our work with detachment, then what happens?
Then we will not fall into the cycle of birth and death. We can
Yes.
try and get out of the cycle of
We will not get entangled in the
entangled.
in the cycle of karma, in the cycle of repeated birth and death. We will actually lead a liberated life if we live like this. But on the other hand, if we live with a desire for with an expectation of some results for our karma, how we are, whatever karma that we are doing, then we are living a fruitive life, and that will only keep us bound in this material world. Okay, then text 17, Krishna is saying that, okay, but ab tak just if somebody has some desire for enjoyment, then they should follow this karma life, how to perform karma and etc. But Krishna is saying those who take pleasure in the self, whose life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. So basically the duty is meant for whom? Because we are still contaminated. Our heart is contaminated. We are bound by karma. That is why we have to perform karma in a certain manner according to Vedas, without detachment, and for doing along with doing our devotional duties also towards Lord Krishna. So that will help us to become purified. That will purify us and will help us to walk further on the path of self-realization. But Krishna is saying those who are already self-realized, who are satiated from within, for him there is no duty. तो फिर उनको क्या करना चाहिए? जो ऑलरेडी सेल्फ रियलाइज्ड हैं, उनके लिए फिर कोई ड्यूटी नहीं है, तो उन्हें क्या करना चाहिए? फिर कोई काम नहीं करना चाहिए?
करना चाहिए माता जी, और लोगों को एग्जाम्पल सेट करने के लिए, ताकि लोग उनको देख के उनको फॉलो कर सके.
Exactly. तो यहाँ पे now Krishna is saying, Arjun, you may be a self-realized soul. Probably you know everything and you are a self-realized soul. So for you there is no duty as such, right? Lekin you should still do the duty as a Kshatriya, and you should follow my instructions so that you can set an example for the rest of the world how to do karma. Right? So we'll quickly read this. Text 18. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. तो ये हमने last time प्रभुपाद जी के example से समझा था ये सारे sentences का meaning क्या है, कि एक self-realized person को कोई बंधा हुआ नहीं है वो कर्मों से, तो उसको ये ड्यूटी करना ही है ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. Nor has he any reason not to perform such work. अगर और ऐसा कोई कारण नहीं कि उसको वो चीज नहीं करना चाहिए कोई चीज. He will do everything only because his main purpose is to serve Krishna, to please Krishna. तो कृष्णा के इंस्ट्रक्शंस को फॉलो करने के लिए या कृष्णा के मिशन को कंप्लीट करने के लिए अगर उसे कुछ करना पड़े तो वो भी वो कर सकता है. एग्जाम्पल हमने दिया कि जैसे एक सन्यासी जो होता है वो सन्यास आश्रम में है, तो वो अब सारे मटेरियल एक्टिविटीज को एकदम त्याग दिया है. नाउ ही हैज नथिंग टू डू विद द वर्ल्ड, विद द मटेरियल थिंग एंड मटेरियल वर्ल्ड. बट श्रीला प्रभुपाद ही मेड पीपल गेट मैरिड. खुद उन्होंने अपने हाथों से लोगों का जो उनके स्टूडेंट्स थे, डिसाइपल्स थे उस वक्त, नए दे वर हैविंग लिव इन रिलेशनशिप, सो जस्ट सो दैट दे कुड मेक प्रोग्रेस, so that they take responsibility and enter grihastha ashram. And just to teach them how to perform work, how to take responsibilities, Srila Prabhupada made them get married. Now, for a sannyasi, this is not a necessary thing to do, but he also had no reason not to perform such work, because उनका main purpose क्या था? Krishna consciousness कैसे practice करना है वो लोगों को बताना है. तो लोगों को सही चीज पहले बताना होगा ना, क्या करना है. Live in relationship is not right, illicit relationship is not correct. Okay, if somebody is engaging in that, he cannot understand Krishna, he cannot become self-realized. So Prabhupada said, first you get married, take responsibility, and then if you do your karma by keeping Krishna in the center of your life, you will make progress. So that is why Srila Prabhupada made the young girls and boys get married. Okay, although it is not necessary for a sannyasi to do that, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. So Srila Prabhupada, we can see he was completely dependent on Krishna. He had no dependency on any other person. Then text 19. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. So Krishna is saying we should act, we should do our karma without being attached to the fruits of our activities. We should do everything as a matter of duty. And by working like this, we will attain the supreme. We will attain Krishna. Then in text 20, he gives example of who all performed karma like this. He gave example of Janak Maharaj, who was the father of Mother Sita. He was also a self-realized soul, just in order to teach the people in general, he performed his work as a king very nicely. Then in text 21, Krishna says, whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. तो जो leaders होते हैं, जो great personalities होते हैं, वो जैसा करते हैं वैसे ही common people भी उनको follow करते हैं. इसीलिए leaders को exemplary होना बहुत जरूरी है, example set करना. Therefore, they must do duties, even if they are self-realized, they should perform duties in such a manner that general people would be able to follow them or understand them. Then text 22, Krishna talks about himself, ki Bhagwan, he himself doesn't have any duty to perform in this world. Krishna comes in this world only for 3 reasons: paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. तो धर्म की स्थापना करने के लिए, दुष्टों का विनाश करने के लिए और अपने भक्तों की रक्षा करने के लिए भगवान आते हैं. तो भगवान को एक्चुअली भगवान बंधे नहीं है इस दुनिया में कोई कर्म से, जैसे हम बंध जाते हैं. But when Krishna comes in this world, he is not bound like us. He is the person who is a controller of the material nature also, and who is a controller of each and every jiva also. सब उन्हीं के कंट्रोल में है. It's just like a prime minister going in the jail, visiting a jail for 1 day. Okay, अगर एक जेल में एक प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी अगर जाते हैं विजिट करने, तो he is not going there because he is a criminal. He is going there to meet the criminals. और उनमें से अगर कोई क्रिमिनल को छोड़ना है, जेल से रिलीज करना है, so he is just going for that. He's just going to oversee what is happening there and how to change things if something is not happening properly. तो भगवान भी उसी लिए आते हैं इस दुनिया में. भगवान को इस दुनिया में कुछ लेना देना है नहीं, कोई कर्म से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. But still when he comes, he acts like a normal human being in order to set an example. How should we act? Like Lord Ram, he acted like a king. And he did so many things, like he did his karma in his Rajya. Nobody was all the citizens in his kingdom, they were so happy. कोई भी चीज की कमी नहीं थी किसी के घर में. सब लोग एकदम खुशहाल रहते थे, शांति से रहते थे. Because he set an example of an ideal king, an ideal son. एक आइडियल पुत्र को कैसा होना चाहिए अपने पिता के लिए, वो he should be ready to do anything. And we can see how Lord Ram was completely detached. He performed his duties for the matter of doing a duty, right? For example, he was about to become a king the very next day, लेकिन जब उनकी स्टेप मदर ने उनसे कहा कि तुम चले जाओ यहाँ से, don't become a king first of all, secondly go for वनवास, 14 साल के लिए तुम वनवास में चले जाओ. And he happily accepted it. He did not fight over it. He did not cry for it. उन्होंने कभी जस्टिस नहीं मांगा कि मैं सबसे बड़ा बेटा हूँ, मेरा कल होने वाला है राज्याभिषेक और आप ऐसे कैसे बोल रहे हो. He did not fight for it, right? He happily left the house and he went in the forest. So he was so detached. And even like when, you know, Ravana took Mother Sita और उन्होंने श्रीलंका जो है, लंका के जो राजा रावण को मार दिया, he could have very happily become the king of श्रीलंका. You know, वहीं पे वो सेटल हो सकते थे कि अब मैं यहाँ का राजा हूँ, मैं और सीता मैया अब यहीं पे रूल करेंगे, हम वापस नहीं जाएंगे क्योंकि वहां से तो हमें भगा दिया गया था. Not like this. Okay, instead what did he do? He gave the Sri Lanka to whom? विभीषण. लड़ाई उन्होंने किया, जीता उन्होंने तो, लेकिन उन्होंने राज्य विभीषण को दे दिया. So he was completely detached from anything material. ये मेरा मेरा मेरा, जबकि सब कुछ भगवान का ही है. He is the one who is controlling everything. Yet when he comes and he performs some action, he sets an example how we should also be performing our duties just for the sake of duty. We don't have to live here permanently, right? हमेशा के लिए तो हमें इधर रहना नहीं है. We have to leave the body, right? We are just changing the body. Birth, death, old age, disease लगा ही रहता है. So why should we just hold on or become attached to anything? We just have to do our duty, and keeping Krishna in the center by transferring our attachment to Krishna, we can do this very nicely. Then we continue with text number 23rd. Who wants to read this? No. Alka Mataji, आप read करोगे?
Yes, Mataji, I can read.
Okay. यदि ह्याहं न वर्तेयं,
यदि या न वर्तेयं,
अहं न वर्तेयं,
यदि अहं न वर्तेयं,
जातु कर्माणि अतन्द्रितः. अलका
जातु जातु कर्म अदंत्रता,
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते,
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते,
मनुष्यः पार्थ सर्वशः.
मनुष्य. Yes, just
मनुष्याः पार्थ.
so you just scrolled up, na?
अच्छा अच्छा, now it is visible.
No. मनुष्य पार्थ सर्वेशः.
One second, let me scroll up. Synonyms and translation पढ़ लीजिए.
यदि, if, he, I, certainly, aham, I, na, do not, vartayam, thus engage, jatu, ever, karmani, in the performance of prescribed duties, anantikre, with great care, mama, my, vartana, path, avantante, would follow, Manushya, all men, Parth, O son of Parth, Sarvasya, in all respect. For if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path.
Yeah. So Krishna is telling Arjun that अगर मैं अपने ड्यूटीज को नहीं करूंगा तो फिर सब लोग मेरे ही पाथ को फॉलो करेंगे और फिर वो भी गलत करने लगेंगे. So that is why I'm doing duty, so that people follow. People can understand what we should do as a grihastha, what is our duties. So we should set right example. Then we go to the next verse. Sujata Mataji, you can read this.
Yes, Mata.
Utsideyurime loka,
Utsideyurime loka,
na kuryam karma chedaham,
na kuryam karma chedaham,
sankarasya cha kartasam,
sankarasya cha kartasyam,
upahanyami mahaprajah.
upahanyami ma praja.
Synonyms and translation.
Yeah. Utsidehyu would be put into ruin. Ime, all these. Loka, worlds. Na, not. Kuryam, I perform. Karma, prescribed duties. Chet, if. Aham, I. Sanskarasya, of unwanted population. Sankarasya, of unwanted population. Cha and Karta, creator. Syam, would be. Upahanyam, would destroy. Ima, all these. Praja, living entities. Praja, living entities. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings.
Yeah. So again, Krishna is talking about a Varna Shankara. मतलब अगर मैं duties को निभाऊंगा नहीं, like how Arjun gave reasons why he does not want to fight. So first reason, what did he give? That I don't want to perform sin. Second reason he gave that if अगर हम ये war करते हैं तो सारे males जो हैं यहाँ पे लड़ने आए हैं सब मारे जाएंगे, तो खाली स्त्रियां बच जाएंगी, स्त्रियां, छोटे बच्चे और बूढ़े लोग जो घर में हैं वो बच जाएंगे, और जो फैमिली ट्रेडिशन है वो फॉलो नहीं होगा, स्त्रियां जो है वो दूषित हो जाएंगी, बिकॉज अदर मेल्स हु हैव नॉट कम हियर टू फाइट, they will take advantage of the females, and then unwanted children will be born. People will not follow and nobody will be there to guide, because elders नहीं रहेंगे, तो कोई गाइड करने वाला नहीं होगा घर में किसी को, बच्चों को और स्त्रियों को, तो लोग फैमिली ट्रेडिशन फॉलो नहीं करेंगे, अपने ड्यूटीज को नहीं फॉलो करेंगे, एंड देन आगे चल के वही लोग लीडर भी बनेंगे, वही बच्चे जिनको कोई गाइडेंस नहीं मिला है प्रॉपर, वही आगे चल के they will become the leaders, and the whole society will be in chaos. So the same point here, Krishna is also saying that if I do not perform prescribed duties, then the whole world will be put into ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, because people will not follow things properly, they will not do their duties properly, and unwanted children will be born, and then there'll be no peace in the society. Okay, so now Krishna is saying that people will follow me. I perform prescribed duties so that the world will follow me. Now Krishna, as in the form of Lord, I mean, when Krishna came and he performed duties, his duties, so भगवान कृष्ण ने तो ऐसे बहुत सारे, जैसे अभी राम जी के अवतार में जब आए थे तो वो उन्होंने बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट रूल रेगुलेशन रखा, जैसे he as a king is allowed to marry n number of females, because a king can take care of many wives, so they are allowed, as a Kshatriya they are allowed to marry many women. Okay, but Lord Ram, he had vowed that I will marry only one woman in my life, and he kept his vow throughout. So Sita Devi को उन्होंने अगर बाद में ये भी कर दिया था, जंगल में भी भेज दिया था, तो भी he did not get married again. उन्होंने सोने का पुतला बनाया सीता जी का, and then whatever यज्ञ वगैरह जब भी उनको करना होता था तो वो सीता जी के पुतले को रख के करते थे. So he kept himself in proper strict rule and regulation so that people will follow him and also understand how important it is to remain in strict rule regulation while we are in our Varna and Ashram and performing the duties of Varna Ashram. But as Krishna, he did so many other things which is against the law of, which is against the general principle, right? Vedic principle. जो हम अगर human life में करेंगे as a human being, तो वो हमारे लिए वो पाप बन जाता है. For example, Krishna married 16,108 wives, or he had so many gopis, he danced with the gopis. Okay, now अगर हम सोचेंगे कि ये भगवान ने हमारे लिए example set किया है, many people do that, right? And that is why they ruin their life. So how do we understand this? How do we explain this to people? Because here Krishna is saying that if I do not perform prescribed duties, the worlds would be put into ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would destroy the peace of all living beings. But at the same time, Krishna also dances in Rasa Leela. So how do we understand this? How do we reconcile this? Anyone wants
We
to
can,
share?
Mataji, we can follow the Lord, but we cannot imitate him.
Exactly. So first of all, we should know who is Krishna. We should not know, we should not think that Krishna is an ordinary jiva like us. जीव में और ईश्वर में अंतर है, जीवात्मा में और परमात्मा ईश्वर में. Ishwar is the controller of everyone, and every jiva belongs to Krishna. Okay, so there are so many things that Krishna can do, but we cannot. Like example यहाँ पे दिया है lifting the Govardhan hill. Krishna was just a 7-year-old boy when he lifted the Govardhan hill. So we should not think that he is setting an example और एक छोटे बच्चे को वही कोशिश करना चाहिए. हो भी नहीं सकता वो उससे, right? Because Krishna is God, he can do anything. So he is not bound by any law. वो खाली एक human society में जब आते हैं तो बस हमें क्या करना चाहिए, किस तरह से हमें अपने वर्णाश्रम धर्म को फॉलो करना चाहिए, वो भगवान दिखाते हैं. लेकिन उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि भगवान बंधे हुए हैं उन लॉज और रूल्स रेगुलेशंस से. इफ ही वांट्स ही कैन शो हिज भगवत्ता एनी टाइम. और इसीलिए जब उन्होंने गोवर्धन पर्वत उठाया तो वो अपना भगवत्ता दिखा रहे हैं, दैट ही इज गॉड, ही इज नॉट एन ऑर्डिनरी ह्यूमन बीइंग लाइक अस. उन्होंने सारे जो चुनावर्त पुतना सबको मार के दिखाया. देन कालिया नाग पे he danced on the hoods of Kaliya Nag. Can any one of us do that? We cannot, right? So by doing all these pastimes, he is also proving that he is God. He is not an ordinary person and he is not bound by any law. तो कोई लॉ उनको बांध के नहीं रख सकते. इसलिए हम अगर ये सोचेंगे कि कृष्णा ने ऐसा क्यों किया, so many, he danced with so many girls and he's telling us not to get married to more than one wife, be chaste to your spouse, follow varnashram dharma very nicely. Why is he saying that when he himself is not doing that? So we cannot argue like this, we cannot question mark like this to Krishna, because he is not bound by any law. All the laws are made by him. And he's not doing anything wrong because he's not affected by lust, anger or greed or pride. ये जो अनर्थास हैं वो material world में देखे जाते हैं, वो कृष्णा affect नहीं होते उससे. So unless we understand who is Lord Krishna, we will not understand these words completely, in the right sense. So we can follow Krishna's footsteps, but we must not imitate him. सारे जो भगवान ने एक्टिविटी किए हैं उसे हम इमिटेट नहीं कर सकते. जैसे भगवान लॉर्ड शिवा ऑल्सो ही ड्रैंक द पॉइजन फॉर द वेलफेयर ऑफ जीवास लाइक अस, बिकॉज वो पॉइजन अगर ह्यूमन सोसाइटी में आता तो सब मर जाते. तो लॉर्ड शिवा ने उसे पी लिया वो पॉइजन को, बट ही कुड डू इट बिकॉज ही इज ऑन अ वेरी superior position than ordinary jivas like us, right? So we must not imitate Lord Shiva, but we must follow him. Follow him matlab kya? Lord Shiva is a great devotee of Lord Krishna, so we must follow that, right? Because Lord Shiva is also a devotee of Krishna. He also serves Krishna. He also meditates on his lotus feet. So I must also become a devotee of Krishna. I must also serve Krishna. This is what we must follow. We cannot imitate great personalities. We cannot imitate them just by saying that because they did, I can also do. So we cannot say that. Hare Swati Mataji, your voice is breaking. We cannot hear you.
Bhagavatam in the first canto. So he was welcome. Can you hear me, Mataji? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yeah, so in Bhagavatam, Mataji, in first canto, it is explained very nicely, Mataji, when Lord Krishna was entering in Dwarka and he was welcomed. So all the queens in their individual palaces with all the, affluences welcoming him. But it is said, like it's written by Prabhupada, that all this could not agitate the senses of Lord because he is at a different platform. He is transcendental.
Yeah.
So, and the explanation is given very beautifully, Mataji, specifying this particular point, what we are discussing, that we can't understand from our materialistic senses and understanding.
Yes.
That's at a different level altogether.
So it is mentioned that when Lord Krishna returned to Dwarka, all his queens, they were very happy and They were very beautiful. All the queens are very beautiful, but Krishna was never affected by lust. And even though he had such beautiful wives, he was never affected by lust. All Krishna was attracted to by them was their pure love and devotion. वो जो जो उनका शुद्ध भक्ति है ना, उससे वो भगवान को अट्रैक्ट करते थे. उनकी ब्यूटी से या लस्ट से वो कभी भगवान को अट्रैक्ट नहीं किए हैं. Just like normal human beings in normal human society, we get affected by lust. अगर हम किसी कोई अच्छा है, कोई अच्छा गाता है, कोई अच्छा दिखता है, तो we get attracted to that person. But that is lust. That is not love. And when Krishna got attracted to his wives, it is not because of lust, not because they look very beautiful and nice and charming, but because they had that pure love and devotion towards him. So Krishna accepted their service. Yes. Okay, so
Yes, Mataji.
yeah, thank you for saying this point, Mataji. It's a good point where we understand the Dwarka Vasis, even the Gopis ka bhi jo Gopis love also. It's a topmost loving service towards Lord Krishna. There is no tinge of lust in the relationship of Lord Krishna and his devotees like the Gopis and the queens of Dwarka.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we go to the 25th verse. Swati Mataji, आप ही read करो ये वाला. Swati Mataji, would you be repeating this verse?
Can I read
Yes,
it, Mataji?
Mataji, I will.
Saktah karmanya vidvamso
Sakta karmanya vidvanso
yatha kurvanti bharata
yatha kurvanti bharata
kuryad vidvams tatha saktash
kurya dividan sata sasta
chikirshur loka sangraham.
Shachikeshu loka sangraham. Mataji, I'll read the
Yes,
words.
synonyms
Synonyms.
and translation.
Sakta being attached, karmani in prescribed duties, avidvamsaha the ignorant, yatha as much as, kurvanti they do, Bharata, O descendants of Bharata, kuryata must do, vidvan the learned, tatha thus, akshata without attachment, chitrakshuha desiring to lead, loka sangraham the people in general. Translation: as the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So how is Krishna, here Krishna is telling Arjun how a self-realized soul performs action. So he performs action just without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path. लोगों को सही राह दिखाने के लिए वो action करते हैं without any attachment, like with detachment they do their work. So as the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path. So many people, so in general, people are very much attached in Grihastha life. But what should a devotee do? A devotee who is also a Grihastha, he may set an example for other Grihasthas to look up to him. Right? A devotee Grihastha, what does he do? He gets up early morning, chants his round, does his morning program, Mangalarti, everything. Then he cooks in the kitchen, and while he's cooking, he listens to kirtan or some lecture. He cooks with a pure heart to serve Krishna. Then he offers to Krishna. That becomes prasadam, and then he serves his children and family the same prasadam. And the whole day also, whenever he tries to do all his activities in a Krishna conscious manner, take out time for reading scriptures, discussing scriptures doing kirtan at home in the evening. So this is an ideal grihastha life. Okay, and devotee, he does all this, and for himself also, because he's making spiritual progress, and he also does all this for now some grihasthas also may be self-realized souls. Okay, but even though they are self-realized, they should nevertheless continue doing these activities to set an example for people in general, who can learn from them how to do our duty without attachment to the results. Okay. Next verse, 26th verse. Who wants to read? अनुराधा माता जी आप रीड कर लोगे. चिन्मयी माता जी आपको रीड करना है?
ओके ओके माता जी.
ओके. न बुद्धि भेदम जनयेद.
न बुद्धि भेदम जनयेद.
अज्ञानां कर्म संगिनां. अज्ञानां कर्म संगिनां.
ज्ञानां कर्म संगिनां.
जोषयेत् सर्वाणि.
जोषयेत् कर्मणि.
विद्वान् युक्तः समाचरन्.
विद्वानोक्तः समाचरम्. न बुद्धि भेदम जनायेद अजनं कर्म संगिनम. जोषयेत् सर्व कर्मणि विद्वान् युक्त समाचरन्. Not buddhi vedam, description of intelligence. Janayat, he should cause. Anjanam, of the foolish. Karma, Shanginam, who are attached to fruitive work. Joshayat, he should devote. Sarva, all. Karmani, work. Vidwan, a learned person. Yuktaha, engaged. Samacharan, practicing. So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties. A learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. So here Krishna is saying that एक जो self-realized soul है, when he is doing his duties, although he is completely self-realized and he is still doing his duties in a detached manner, if he sees that some people in the material world, they are too attached to their duties, they are too attached to fruitive results, then they should not disturb them. उनको ऐसा नहीं बोलना चाहिए तुम क्या कर रहे हो, तुम बिना मतलब का सब कुछ कर रहे हो, ये सब छोड़ दो, ये सब मत करो, ऐसा नहीं करना सब. फॉर एग्जाम्पल somebody is a demigod worshipper, तो हमें उनको इमीडिएटली ऐसा नहीं बोलना चाहिए कि तुम सब कुछ गलत कर रहे हो, तुम सब कुछ छोड़ दो, ये सब मत करो, ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए. We should not disturb them because they are too attached to that fruitive results. They want to, generally people do such karmas, they follow demigod worship, they do some demigod worship and they follow some rituals in order to get something in life. Okay, so instead of stopping them from doing all that, what we should do? Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities. So when we see some people are very good, जैसे वो गणेश चतुर्थी आता है, Durga Ashtami आता है, और and they are engaged so nicely. We see people are so talented. When Ganesh Chaturthi comes, they will make all nice, clay का वो लोग बनाएंगे गणेश जी का, और बहुत अच्छे से डेकोरेशन करते हैं, and they follow everything. So we should not say that what you're doing is wrong, what you're ये सब करना नहीं चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं. We should see how nicely they can be engaged in Krishna's service also. So rather than उनको discourage करने से अच्छा हम उनको सिर्फ इतना बोल सकते हैं, next time we can just encourage them that we have a program in our house or in our society, we are celebrating Janmashtami, so why don't you also come and do some seva? You do such nice decoration on Ganesh Chaturthi, we have seen that, so you can also do some service for Krishna also, do some nice decoration. So by engaging them like this in a positive manner, gradually they will develop that taste for serving Krishna, and they will understand the difference between who are demigods, who is Krishna, and gradually they will take to Krishna consciousness. So we should not abruptly disturb people's minds and ask them to just stop everything that they're doing, but we should engage them. We should see what quality they have and how they can be engaged in Krishna's service, and ask them to, whatever they are doing, वो साथ साथ में करते करते एक राउंड आप हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र भी जप कर लो. So like this, we should inspire them, and we should not say that you stop everything that you're doing and you just chant Hare Krishna mantra. So that way people will not understand, and they might take it as an offense that why everybody tells us, why ISKCON people, they say don't do this, don't do that, no demigod worship, they are also God. So like that, they will not understand in the beginning, like the difference, right? So we must do it in a very positive way, very encouraging way, and not criticizing them for what they're doing, because we all were like that only before we came into Krishna consciousness, right? Because material life is such that wo attachment apne aap hi rahega, expectation rahega, yeah, the sense of enjoyment is there. So we naturally do all those rituals, we do demigod worship, because हमें बचपन से वही बताया जाता है. But later on, gradually, when we understand the things in the right way, when we read Bhagavad Gita, associate with devotees, then we understand the difference between demigods and Krishna, and what is the difference between serving Krishna and serving the demigods, all this. Okay, so Krishna is saying, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to fruitive results prescribed a learned person should not induce everyone. Any query, any question or doubt? Okay, so we go ahead. 27th verse. Who wants to read? Anuradha Mataji, आप अभी read कर लो
Yes, Mataji.
ये वाला. Yes. प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि
प्रकृतेः क्रियमाणानि
गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः
गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः
अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा
अहंकार विमूढ़ आत्मा
कर्ताहम् इति मन्यते.
कर्ताहम् इति मन्यते. The prakrtah of material nature, kriyamani being done, guneh by the modes, karmani activities, sarvashah all kind of, ahankrita vimuda bewildered by false ego, atma the spirit soul, karta doer, aham I, iti thus manyate he thinks. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of the material nature. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So in this verse, Krishna is saying that actually हम जो भी कर्म करते हैं, वो कैसे होता है? कर्म कोई भी fulfill होता है तो see, in the beginning only Krishna gave this differentiation that we are not the body but we are spirit soul, right? तो हम spirit soul हैं, that means there is a body and there is a soul, both are different thing. Okay, और अगर हमें कोई कर्म करना है तो desire कौन करता है? Soul करता है कि body करता है?
Body
करता है.
Body desires. Body is a dead matter, na? How can a body desire?
Full करता है Mataji.
It's a soul. Soul is a living entity. It's a soul who desires. Okay, so we are spirit soul. We are the ones who have desires. Then after that, once we have a desire, then the further action is conducted by the body. वो desire को fulfill करने के लिए हम body को use करते हैं, और body फिर body, senses, mind, ये सारे चीजें हम use करते हैं. Life, air. Then there is Paramatma in the heart who helps us to, who gives us that environment or that opportunity to fulfill our desire, right? तो कोई भी काम करने के लिए या कोई भी कर्म करने के लिए there are so many factors. It is not just the soul, but the spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. तो basically हमारा जो body है वो 3 गुणों से बंधा हुआ है और 3 गुणों के अधीन में रहकर कर्म करता है. How does our body function? It is functioning by the 3 modes of material nature. But the soul is completely different from the body. Please understand this. And we are actually spirit souls. We are not the body. But the body is working under the 3 modes of material nature. तो actually कौन कर्म कर रहा है? अगर body कर भी रहा है तो वो modes of material nature ही है जो उसको जिनके अंडर में वो body काम कर रहा है. और in addition to the body, mind and senses, we also need Paramatma who is there in our heart. We need his permission so that we can do some karma, so that the body can move, so that we can perform some karma, we can do some activity and we can get the result. So we ultimately depend on Paramatma. It is not just the spirit soul. अगर मैंने सिर्फ desire कर लिया तो क्या वो हो जाएगा काम? We need so many things ना. मुझे वो opportunity चाहिए, right time चाहिए कोई चीज करने के लिए. We need all that. Otherwise, it's not just by desiring we can do everything, right? So it's not I alone who am doing the karma, but there are so many factors behind it. And ultimately, it is the Paramatma's permission, the Paramatma's blessings, because of which our work is done. So, but bewildered by the false ego, we think that only I am the doer. मैंने मेहनत किया, इसीलिए आज मैं मेरा सब कुछ अच्छा चल रहा है, या मैं मेहनत कर रहा हूँ तो मैं अपने फैमिली को संभाल रहा हूँ, या I am the master of the house and I am taking care of my family. My children depend on me. My wife and or my husband or my parents are dependent on me. So this is false ego. You know, मिथ्या अहंकार. हमें ऐसा लगता है मैं सब कुछ कर रहा हूँ, but actually it is the Supreme Lord who is controlling everyone and everything. Even the material nature is under the control of the Supreme Lord. और हमारा शरीर material nature के control में है. तो भले ही मैं कुछ सोचूं, desire करूं, लेकिन मैं dependent हूँ अपने body पे, mind पे, and then Paramatma's permission पे. If he allows, then only I can get what I am doing or what I am desiring. So we should, so basically for learning for us is that we should not think that we are the doer of activities. We are one of the factor. Of course, the desire has to come from the soul. So एक factor तो है that the desire has to be there, but we are not the only person. There are so many, we are dependent on so many other factors also. And ultimately we depend on Krishna. But in general, people are bewildered. People think that they are doing that karma, they are doing activity, and because of which their family is running, their life is running.
Mataji, I have a question here. Can I ask Mataji?
Yes, yes. Yes, Swati Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji, see, as you explained in second chapter, we have 2 duties to perform. One is duties towards our soul and duties towards our physical body, as in conditioned duties. So sometimes it's, Mataji, they are work, those are very, very time consuming, like accompanying to kids to various classes, getting their homework, their school things done, and sometimes to spend time, emotional well-being, they just want their mother's time. So Mataji, it is a very, very demanding job, which is leaving with very less time, Mataji. So if we do this job, are conditioned duties with a mood that we are not doer, and these are the duties given to us, and we have to do them nicely without attachment, Mataji. But this all is leaving us with a very small amount of time to do devotional processes.
Yeah.
So Mataji, how is that Mataji, it's difficult to many a times strike a balance.
Yeah, so we just have to keep practicing. Practice makes man perfect. So yes, जब बच्चे बहुत छोटे हों और हो सकता है कि कुछ समय के लिए ऐसा पीरियड है that they are really demanding your time and energy, and probably उस समय आप ज्यादा कुछ ना कर सको, जैसे मॉर्निंग प्रोग्राम नहीं हो पाएगा, आरती नहीं हो पाएगा, but at least you should make it a point कि chanting आप करो at least. वो 16 rounds is we should try कि कुछ भी हो जाए, बाकी कुछ हो ना हो, at least 16 if you're doing 16 rounds. Otherwise whatever rounds like 8 rounds 4 rounds जो है मिनिमम आपने सेट किया है कि ये 4 rounds मुझे रोज करना है, तो वो करना ही है. You take out some time for that when your child is sleeping, early morning, afternoon, whatever, that we can see what is our schedule accordingly. Okay, and after that अगर कुछ और हो सकता है कि बच्चे का सब कुछ देखने के बाद अगर if I can take out some more time, then I should understand what more I can do as a practitioner, as a devotee, and we should gradually वो introduce करना चाहिए उसे हमारे life में, because the child is not always going to remain a 4-year-old child. Every year the child is growing 5 years 6 years, and then gradually we should also change, schedule हमारा change होगा बच्चे के साथ में. As the child grows he will become more independent, मतलब independently studying. तो तब आपको time, you just have to overlook them कि वो कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहे हैं अपना. But at the same time if you're sitting with them and if the child is doing the homework, then you can also read. You can take your Bhagavad Gita and you can sit by the side and you can just read your one shloka at the same time. Just एक नजर रखो कि वो बच्चा कर रहा है कि नहीं, because all he needs is your presence. So like this we can understand कि कहाँ पे मुझे I can just take out some time and also introduce devotional service like reading, hearing. आप समझ रहे हो? So although yes demanding तो है, but it will keep changing every year, and gradually you can add more and more डिवोशनल प्रैक्टिस. बट जब तक नहीं होता है, अगर सपोज बहुत डिमांडिंग है, तो आप एटलीस्ट अपना राउंड्स कंप्लीट कर लो. आप खाना बनाते वक्त कुछ सुन लो, लेक्चर सुन लो, कीर्तन सुन लो. सो these 2 things, basic things we must do: chanting and prasadam. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Mataji, I have a question.
Yeah.
As you were saying, if the soul is the one which has desires, then why does it desire negative things going against the regulative principles of the living entities? Because the soul is aware of the regulative principles. In spite of that, it desires something which is negative.
Not always. The soul main reason why we desire wrong is because of ignorance, because we do not know the scriptures. तो इसीलिए we end up desiring something which is not beneficial for the soul. We desire something material instead of desiring to serve Krishna. The best thing for soul is to be in service of Krishna. That's his best position. That is real position of happiness. But because of an ignorance, we think that I am this body and therefore I desire something material. Because I think I'm this body, I'm the mind, I need to keep myself happy. I need to keep my mind and body happy. And that is why I start desiring something material.
So Mataji, you're saying that once you're in a body, then the soul is not supposed to be ignorant, no, Mataji? Isn't it?
Soul is not supposed to be. It is Satchit Anand. But the covering of Maya, because of the covering of Maya, it forgets its identity.
And that's how it desires for negative.
Yes. वो माया का कवरिंग आ जाता है, फॉल्स ईगो आ जाता है, तो उसके वजह से हम अपने आप को देखने लगते हैं कि मैं तो ये शरीर हूँ. तो but when a person becomes self-realized, he can see the difference that I am not this body. My body is working in a certain manner, and I am someone who is different from this body. तो वो इसीलिए तो ये पूरा प्रोसेस है सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन का. एंड ह्यूमन फॉर्म ऑफ लाइफ में यही हमारा ड्यूटी है, टू रियलाइज अवरसेल्फ.
Mataji, but that also requires Guru's mercy, and the time that,
Definitely.
and when it actually happens, or, meet the right people or right association.
Yes, definitely. It's very, very rare. Brahmand Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan ji. It's so rare that in this entire Brahmand, one jiva will, find a proper guru, a bona fide guru, and he will get the knowledge. So, but Kali Yuga is a very special time. Kali Yuga otherwise is filled with all negative things. हमारा आयु कम है, बुद्धि कम है, बहुत लोगों के अंदर demon and divine both exist simultaneously in us. divinity and demoniac tendency. But there is one good quality in Kali Yuga, that simply by taking the holy name, we can attain self-realization. जो पिछले सत्ययुग त्रेता युग में इतना तपस्या करना, इतना अष्टांग योग करना, सारे शास्त्रों को रीड करना, वेदों को रीड करना, and then ज्ञान मार्ग and all, that is not possible in Kali Yuga. Simply by chanting the holy name, we can attain the same result what people used to do so much of tapasya for thousands and thousands of years. So yeah, and then in especially today's time, Kali Yuga तो है ही, but Kali Yuga में भी अभी का जो हमारा time चल रहा है, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just recently came and he gave us the holy name, and he taught us how to perform bhakti. So we are in a very, very special time. We should make advantage of that, because it is very rare कि कोई जीव को proper guidance मिले how to go back to Krishna. Okay,
So Mataji, unfulfilled desires, they move along with soul from one life to another?
Unfulfilled desires, yes. It remains in our subtle body, mind, intelligence, falsification, and it carries forward. But the
So
Paramatma is there in our heart, so he knows what we desired in our past lives, and then he gives opportunity. Suppose उस life में हुआ नहीं हमारा पूरा, then Krishna gives the opportunity in the next life for those desires to be fulfilled.
So Mataji, our objective should be
Is that
to
okay?
desire less.
To be desireless, but then the soul cannot be desireless, because we are not stone. We are nature of our desire, from material to spiritual. So we should desire to serve Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
We should desire to, I was the right desires. And that is also called as desireless, because normally desire means some material desire. But when we desire for something spiritual, it is also in one sense becoming desireless, because I am not having any material desire now. So ये time पे आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो. अभी 1 hour मिला है. You could have done anything. You could have just picked up your phone, किसी के साथ chit chat करो, या बाहर चले जाओ, या घूमने जाओ. But you choose to sit and study Bhagavad Gita. This is your choice you're making. Yeah, so that makes all the difference. So we are getting a choice right from, right from the early morning we wake up. We are getting a choice the entire day हम क्या कर सकते हैं. So we can either choose to do some material activity or do some spiritual activity. Okay, so that the choice is ours, how we use our time. Of course, the certain duties like taking care of children, although that is time demanding our time and energy, but they are also, if you see that as my children are Krishna's children and they are a gift to me, and I should do my duty as a mother. So that is completely your Krishna conscious duty. That is not material. We should not see that as material. That is also your duty towards Krishna. So you are doing spiritual activity only. But we should be conscious कि टाइम हम ज्यादा इधर उधर वेस्ट ना कर दे. हम टाइम भी ऐसा कभी कभी मिल रहा है, लेकिन उससे हम ऐसे ही गवा रहे हैं. So that we should do more devotional activities also. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. But Hare Krishna, Mataji. As you said here, that children grow up and the priorities keep changing. So from my experience, because since the time I entered into Krishna conscious, my daughter was 2 years and 3. Now she is 8.5 years. So I could also see a lot of things changing around the children. So sometimes, Mataji, we should also have the strong desire to serve Krishna. Even for me in the initial days, it was very difficult. I was giving classes and taking care of children. So at one point of time, Sridevi Mataji herself told me, you just do 8 rounds. You don't do 16 rounds because it's not possible for you. You have to take care of your children. You have to take care of you. So I followed her like 3-4 months. And then the COVID came, many things changed. And then I started waking up early. Children were waking up late. And I got back to 16 rounds in Chaturmas. And then since then, it's going on now. And another thing, Mataji, it is again my own personal experience that I'm sharing for the benefit of the group. That sometimes doing some Krishna Katha, hearing some classes with the children around when we are playing around, something enters their ears. Yesterday, I was very surprised because I never taught Radha Kripa Kadaksh to my daughter. Yesterday, when I suddenly said, she was able to remember 80% of that because she was just hearing me singing that. And I do that only while cooking or doing something. It's not that I sit in front of puja or I do Radha Krip Kadaksh or something. So when we are increasing our devotional activity in front of our children, to a certain extent, of course, every children has certain inclination, but little we do, then they also come along with us. You know, in that way we are
And they make your journey easy, actually.
more easier because we don't want to think anything apart from them. You know, we can just say them, you know, Krishna consciousness is a part of our life. Even like yesterday, my daughter previous year, she got first prize in mono acting. And yesterday she lost in the classroom round itself. Not even going. So she was little this thing, but I said nothing happens, you know, without Krishna's desire. It so happened because Krishna wanted it that way. So let us just accept it. And to a certain extent, Mataji, her disappointment was little less. She could understand, you know, that teacher was unfair and all those things. So let it be, but that nothing can happen. So, you know, they are also able to take up many things in a right perspective. When we are bringing Krishna in the center and telling them that everything happens, just nothing can happen without Krishna's will, good or bad. First, we should be very sure of that.
Yes.
That's
That's
just
very
my
nice.
experience, Mataji. Every child has a different inclination, different desires, but having a strong desire for ourselves to serve Krishna and giving that to the children, I have seen quite a good difference, Mataji. In fact, today also I told my son generally 4 rounds. He already said 3. Then I said do 8 rounds. I know you will say that. If I say you said 3, you will tell me 8. If I say I did 7, you will tell me 16. I know you will say that. But then I said, you know, they know, you know, what is expected out of them. So just sharing my piece of experience.
Yes. It's nice to share so that others can also learn.
Yeah, just again, everybody has a different priorities and things,
Yeah.
but this kind of worked with me because I put many classes and I just felt that she's listening those classes. She's just not, I am listening. When they are also playing and something, at least a 30 minutes a day, some nice classes, they also hear and they also understand many things. And they question.
My son liked the Narsimha tune so much. Now both of us sing Narsimha in the evening. That happens.
That is the way it happens.
And he learned on his own. I was even surprised. Same thing. And one thing that I do as a practice is during exams, I give a revision to him, and then in the evening we pray to Krishna. I tell Krishna, and I pray saying that Vedant has this exam tomorrow. So if he's really studied, please Krishna, help him, guide him, let him remember whatever. So he has that somewhere the strength comes to him saying that, Mama, let's pray before the exam. So, okay, if he, whether what he gets is a different matter, but that that strength or whatever he remember, let's pray before exam. I said, whole year you don't remember. During exams, I said, okay, chalo, theek hai. At least during exam, remember kar rahe hai, at least let us pray. And then so that at least, he remembers or, Krishna is helping.
Do you know, Mataji, that whether it's not exactly we tell them, our own activities can influence the family around.
Yes.
And
so he gets that quite strength on praying before an exam. Speaking and talking and then coming and thanking the deity. I have to remind him obviously, but then he does come and thank, and then next day again before the exam he prays before. So he feels okay, pray kiya hai, तो एकदम शांत से सो जाएगा ऐसे. So that I don't know, it's helping him.
So gradually the same thing, no? You can ask him to pray immediately after. You can just remind him, pray to Krishna, thank Krishna. Like this
हाँ.
छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं जो वो लोग
So अभी marks मिले, he got some full marks in one subject. I said, have you thanked Krishna for helping you, getting good
Yeah.
marks and all those things? Yeah, I do. मतलब थोड़ा है that thing is there. मतलब काम हो गया ना. I said, don't be selfish like this.
One thing, Mataji, is suppose whatever she does, she said she read 10 chapters from Harry Potter in 2 days. How did you do that? Yeah, she said it's Krishna's mercy. So at least in her mouth, anything that good happens, she says it's Krishna's mercy.
Krishna's
So
mercy.
this thing, not taking the ownership on yourself. When the children are young, Mataji, they take such things very, very easily. Yeah.
Mataji, just wanted
Yes,
to ask
yes.
your Monday morning class is on 8 o'clock. One of my colleagues wanted to join. So
Yeah.
we just Mataji, your voice is breaking. Hello.
8 to 9.
Hello. 8 to 9, it's on, na, Mataji?
Yes, it is on. I think there's some problem, internet issue.
हाँ,
Yeah, it's on. It's on.
अच्छा, तो I just gave her a Bhagavad Gita. मेरे पास जो extra था. I want to buy one for her, but she is inclined. और तो I'll speak to you about her. तो आप मेरे को link दे दोगे क्या? She said I said you try 1 or 2 sessions, see how it goes. Start off at least. So
Yeah.
तो मेरे को
I'll share the link.
Yeah, and I'll give you her number so you can add her in the group. So at least let her.
Okay.
Thanks, Mataji.
All right. Yeah. So there's some network issue also. I think stop here for today and continue next week. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo. Hare Krishna everyone.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Mataji.
Hare